Welcome to the Shatterproof Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Reed. Today we have an exceptional guest joining us, Todd Tolson, the creator of the Church Playbook. Todd is the wealth of experience in leadership and church development, and he's here to share his journey and insights in building a resilient and impactful church community with us. So, Todd, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. Glad to be here.
Todd, it's good reconnecting with you. We met about a year ago, I guess, at one of Tom Keenan's Step It Up events. And
that's right.
Fun being connected to you on social media and watching what you're doing. And it's great to have you on the show. You and I align so well. You're doing a lot of things in the church world that I'm doing in the small business world, and they're really parallel. So I'm excited to get some of those insights from you. So tell us what you're up to. I know that you've got the Church Playbook going on. Tell us what that is and what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in vocational ministry, as they call it, for going on 30 years. And, I grew up kind of in a church home, but my dad was in the Navy, so we've been all over the country. And so there was probably 6 or 7 years, like when I was in high school and early college, that we didn't go to church. Kind of did my own thing. God has a funny way of bringing us back to himself that is very unique and personal and customized. And, God got to me. It was the first week in 1996. Here I am, a guitar teacher, break my hand out of anger. And I ended up at Magnolia Wesleyan Church on the first Sunday in 1996, where the pastor was starting a 10-week series called How to Turn Bad Feelings into Good Ones. Now, it was really just on the Beatitudes, where Jesus talks about, you're blessed if you do this or that. And so I remember sitting in the seat, long hair, casting my arm, thinking, okay, God, I haven't done this in a while, but I'll give you 10 weeks, okay? And on the 10th week, I was actually up on stage playing guitar in the worship team. And God really used that church to help me see church and how we do church a little bit differently. Of course, I grew up in, very traditional, wooden pews, pipe organ, piano. I have so many fond memories of that. But later on in years, as I would talk to friends about my faith, there was a real resistance for them to try church because they had gone to churches like I had when I was a kid, when they were a kid, and didn't have fond memories of it. And so God really used that church and then, some subsequent churches to, show me how to reach people where they were at, with God's good news, where it in a way that it really felt like it was good news. So I've started now 3 churches. I'm working on my 4th here in Dallas-Fort Worth area, Johnson County. And my 2nd church, we were the fastest growing church in San Diego early on. And, my best friend and his wife planted the church with us. And we were about 15 months in. And we were running a little over 200. We'd hit 200 our first year, which 200 in the church world is the hardest attendance barrier to break. Okay. So, we think of churches like, there's really big churches. You think of guys like Stephen Furtick or Joel Osteen that have 10, 20, 30,000 people that come to their church on a weekend. The average size church is like right around 70. There's 300,000 churches in the United States. So those guys really skew the averages. A lot of the guys that I work with have churches of 25 or 30. And so that 200 attendance barrier is really, really, really tough to break. We broke it our first year. And then one fateful Tuesday night, they kind of blindsided me and said, hey, we just can't do this anymore. And nothing bad happened. There was no like crazy sin story or nothing immoral or unethical. It's just, church planting is hard, but you don't know how hard until you know. And they just said, hey, we've got over 200 people in the church. There's only 6 of us that are doing anything, because we had to set up every week and take down when we were done. And so when cornerstone people like that leave, no matter how much you say, like, nothing bad happened, people sort of fill in the blanks on their own. And we lost 40% of our attendance in 3 weeks. We went from over 200 to like between 100 110. And I tried everything the next 3 months. I spent 10 grand on coaches, conferences, courses, and none of it worked. And not that it was bad content, it was actually really, really good content. It was just out of order. And so it's kind of like, I had a 1976 Chevy C20 pickup truck, and it would withstand a nuclear attack. I mean, the engine bay is huge, but it's so simple to work on. And you need power, you need fuel, you need spark, and you need air. And if you can get those things in the right timing, the engine will turn over. Well, all the things that those conferences and coaches and courses were giving me were really, really good content. It was just out of order because none of them had ever built a church from scratch. And so you got to get those things in, but you got to do it in the right order. And so I remember my friends left in May. So by the time we hit August, I was just done. And I said, I essentially I quit. Like, I'm going to keep showing up on Sunday. I'm going to keep, teaching. No one else here could really do that, but I'm not doing anything else. And that was because I'm a football coach. I've coached football for 20 years, and it's August. Practice is starting, and so we went on. We had our best season ever. I was coaching 8th grade boys that year. Made it deep into the playoffs. And we got done the last weekend in October. The first weekend in November, remember, we were averaging 100, 110, maybe 125. We had 240 people in the room the first Sunday, and I couldn't tell you why.
Yep.
And so I went away for a few days, and I just said, hey, God, show me what happened, what changed for us to go from here to there. And I realized that, after spending a few days in prayer and journaling and all that stuff, I had inadvertently started leading my church the same way, and really out of time efficiency's sake, same way that I coached my football team. And so I spent the next 2 days just writing everything down that I could think of. What are the transferable principles between coaching a winning team and leading a growing church? And I came up with 6 principles that eventually became a book called the Church Playbook. And the only reason I even wrote that down was because I'd started coaching other church planters. And I just found myself saying the same thing over and over and over again. And so I actually wrote it all down. I said, here, just read this. And it really started to help a lot of churches. And I think I wrote it somewhere between 2015, 2016. But I didn't actually start the Church Playbook as a business until 2018. And so June 1st is really kind of our birth date. And so we just had our birthday here.
Happy birthday. And so, wow, that's a journey. And
yeah.
And when did you come to Texas? Remind me.
About 3.5 years ago.
So right after the pandemic? Or
we're smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. Churches in the coastal states still have not recovered. So people that were going to church 3 out of maybe 5 weekends in California turned into like once every 6 to 8 weeks. And so during 2020, like our church got shut down 5 different times. Because of how the state leadership perceived what was a threat versus what wasn't. Here in Texas, a lot of the guys that I work with, they've really recovered, like, 85 to 90% of what their 2019 attendance was. But I wouldn't say that anyone is fully recovered from the pandemic yet in the church world.
No, when people figured out they could watch church from their laptop or their big screen,
Right.
Yeah,
it changed
I've
things.
seen that at our church, that there's there's more empty seats than there used to be, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, so what does the Church Playbook do? Who do you help, and how do you help them?
Right. And so, like I said a few minutes ago, the 200 attendance barrier is the hardest to break. And one of the reasons is because the role of the leadership has to change in order for you to get past 200. The role of the pastor has to change. The role of the elders have to change. Even the roles in the congregation have to change. And so many churches have split and spilt proverbial blood over change. Nobody likes change. And you only tolerate it when you feel like you're somewhat in control of it. And so I actually don't coach pastors on how to break 200. I teach them how to get to 200. And so there's just those 6 transferable principles. We start and it's kind of in football speak a little bit, but we talk about what it means to get the field ready. We talk about how to pick the right offense and defense, how to create a practice plan, how to prepare for the whole season, how to prep for Sunday, for game day, and then how to prepare for the big game. And so in church speak, we would say, getting the field ready is creating that follow-up system from when someone first comes to your church. How do we follow up with them? What do we want them to do next? Why should they come back? Picking the right offense and defense. What ministries should we focus on to get to 200? And what ministries are actually more distractions than actually drives attendance? Creating your practice plan. We talk about how to create a sustainable schedule for the pastor so that he can still have family time, still time for hobbies. So we talk about, like, when to prep for your sermon versus when to have a staff meeting, who to meet with and how long and how often. Preparing for the whole season, we get a big calendar and we plan everything out, starting with their vacation all the way to, like, when we do baptisms and communions. Prepping for Sunday is creating a template for worship service.
Yep.
And then prepping for the big day is how to plan, promote, and pull off a special event that reaches the community. And then it goes all the way back to that first step, because once you do that big event, you're going to have people show up. How do we follow up with them? Why should they come back? What do we want them to do next? And we just follow the steps again.
Wow. Well, it sounds like a lot of those plays would work for small business owners.
It really does. I mean, depending on who you talk to, a lot of folks don't like it when I say that church growth is just as mechanical as it is spiritual. And I would tell my small business friends that small business growth is just as spiritual as it is mechanical. But yeah, there's a lot of crossover between church growth and business growth.
Hey there, it's Scott Reed, cutting in for a quick moment. If you're enjoying the podcast and finding value in our discussions, you're going to love the Access Plan. It's designed for entrepreneurs like you, offering unlimited legal advice without the worry of high hourly fees. With the Access plan, you can get the legal support you need at a flat monthly rate so you can focus on growing your business with confidence. Head over to reblaw.com/access to learn more and join Access now and get busy shatterproofing your business. Now let's get back to our amazing guest.
Yeah, because I'm working with a coach right now to create live events. J.R. Spear, and he was on the show a few weeks back with us, and he he says that the first live events are the church, and they happen every week. And,
Sure.
And they're
Sure.
nonprofit. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nonprofit status, but the purpose of those
Right.
events is for money to come in, and it's been effective for generation after generation. So, like you mentioned, having that community event, that would seem like something that a small business owner that's trying to get to their first 250,000 in revenue, not people, should
Right.
consider doing. Like, how can we throw a community event that will draw the people to us, and then have a game plan for how we follow up with them to turn them into customers and then raving fans?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I need to get your book and then reverse engineer it so that I can use that stuff here as we're growing Shatterproof Solutions, because that's the I agree. I think it's similar, because I can remember back when I started this firm, trying to get over 200,000 was a big hurdle. It's like
Right.
insurmountable, and then once you got past that, suddenly getting to 500,000 wasn't that big of a deal. But that first 200
Wow.
was a big challenge. Interesting.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree.
Yeah, so we'll bridge from
I know I
football coaching
feel
to
that.
churches, and then to take it back to, I'll take it back to business.
Sure.
So, we're all about Shatterproof, building things that are unbreakable. How do you build an unbreakable Shatterproof church? What's the secret?
As in a church in and of itself, or Church Playbook?
Yeah, like, well, what do you think the key is? Because so many churches do have trouble. How do you build one that will go long term? Can they take the things that are in your playbook and keep doing them on a regular basis? Is it the consistency of those basic foundational things that makes a church last?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that, because the guys that I'm coaching one-on-one, and in fact, I just came out with a new workbook called the 10-day reset, and it's just like, do this one task a day for the next 10 days to get your church unstuck and create new momentum. And and it's funny how much I feel like I've borrowed from guys like you, guys like Tom Keenan that you mentioned, um, making church personal again. So, as a pastor, you want people to come on Sunday to, be a part of the congregation, to engage in the worship, to, participate in, sermon by taking notes or whatnot. And then, we want you to be so invested in the church that, not just in giving financially, but, of your time and your effort, and, volunteering and serving. But a pastor needs to make church personal again by connecting with people Monday through Saturday. And the best way to get new people into your church is actually by connecting with them during the week when they're not at your church. And so we talk about oh gosh, his name is, I never remember this guy's name, but he talked about creating your dream 100 list. And so I say, yes, thank you. And so that's right. So I'm telling these guys, I'm like, look, who's in your community that not only doesn't go to your church, but doesn't go to any church. And if you cannot create a list of 100 people, you don't know your community well enough. And it's on you. Like, we as a church, when I was in San Diego, we were the church for people that didn't like church. And we were just known for that. But I had become known as the unofficial mayor of my town. And so why was that? In a suburb of San Diego. So we were in a town called Santee. And so it's, people knew who I was. That whole know, like, and trust factor, that's not just for getting people to do business with you, but if you want people to be your friend or be involved in your church. People go to church, with a pastor that they feel like they know and like and can trust. And so for that pastor to reach out Monday through Saturday on a regular interval to connect with those people, when it does finally occur to them that, hey, maybe we really should give church a shot, there's only one church they're going to go to. And it's not the mega church in downtown. It's going to be your church. So, what we're coaching guys to do right now is to really how do you make it personal again and not just expect people to come to you on Sunday? How do we go out to them during the week?
Yeah, because you're not building a church. You're building people that will build the church.
100%.
Yeah. Wow.
It really is about creating a Shatterproof community, but it starts with reaching out.
Yeah. Wow. So where can we get the book? Because I'm going to get a copy, and the listeners should get a copy and figure out how it applies to business. An example of that is Gary Keller has a book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that I bought, I want to say 10 years ago, and was able to take so much of the things of his wisdom and apply them to growing a law firm. So
sure,
you can find things that are maybe not right on your industry, but they're adjacent to it. But there's principles that you can take from it, like Todd has with football coaching, and turn it into church coaching. You can find things that will grow your business. If you can find one thing out of any book, event or book,
right,
it's of great value. So where do we get your book, Todd?
It's just the churchplaybook.com. You can actually go to store.thechurchplaybook.com, and it's right there on the front page. Can't miss it.
Okay. So go get that. And then is that the best way to connect with you as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, there's, hit the contact us deal, and that'll make its way to me.
Yeah. So get one for yourself, get one for your pastor. And if you know anyone that's trying to grow a church past that, get to 200, reach out to Todd. Todd, it's been amazing catching up with you and hearing more about your story. Before we turn this cameras off, I'd like to offer you a blessing, and then we'll wrap it up. Heavenly Father, I ask you and thank you for the incredible wisdom and insight that Todd has shared with us today. We're grateful for his leadership and the positive impact he's making through the Church Playbook. Lord, I ask you to continue to bless Todd in all his endeavors, give him the strength and courage to face any challenges that may come his way, and fill him with your wisdom and guidance. Let his faith continue to be a source of inspiration and strength. In Jesus' mighty name, I bless you, my brother. Have a great rest of your day. Ladies and gentlemen, if you found value in today's talk, like and subscribe. Go check it out on YouTube. And until next week, stay Shatterproof.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. While I'm your host, Scott Reed, and a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer, and this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship. The views expressed by my guests are their own and not mine, and they may not even reflect the opinion of the Shatterproof Entrepreneur Podcast. So we strive to provide valuable and accurate content, but we make no representations as to the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of any information to your particular situation and won't be liable for any errors or omissions for the application of them. Always consult a professional or in the respective area that we've discussed before making any personal or business decisions.